This paper is titled Dark Tourism and Emotional Respect, a Study of the Paris Catacombs by Wiles. Introduction. Using the Paris Catacombs as a case study, this paper will investigate the notion of dark tourism. Defined by Foley and Lennon as locations linked with death and otherwise referred to as thanatourism, the range of sites associated with this notorious type of travel have been structured through Stone's dark tourism spectrum. Arguing that the term dark is too broad, Stone implies that sites can be separated into differing shades of darkness, with the lightest being those providing an entertainment value. The darkest are defined as those of which actual death and suffering occurred. A clear spectrum, nevertheless there is currently no scholar investigation into attractions that have an uncertain level of darkness. Containing the human remains of 6 million Parisians, the Paris Catacombs' shade of darkness has been blurred over the centuries. Currently advertised as a thrill-seeking entertainment venue, it is easy to forget the Catacombs' historic beginnings. Opened in 1809, the Catacombs were originally seen as a symbol of a newly free society. With the remains drawing emotion from a viewing public that were recovering from the horrors of the French Revolution, this paper will investigate the reasons behind the demise and the emotional importance of the Paris Catacombs. First exploring the Catacombs' origins and cultural significance, this paper will argue that over time the Paris Catacombs have suffered from a decline in emotional respect. Exploring the role of commercialization and anonymity, these are all factors of the passing of time. The Paris Catacombs, a symbol of the Revolution. Voted as the world's 5th top dark tourism destination, the media's portrayal of the Paris Catacombs is one of a thrill-seeking theatrical display which will send chills down your spine. However, containing the remains of 6 million of the city's descendants, this unnerving display had a far more symbolic origin to Parisians. Explored by river, the Catacombs' creation was in the midst of political unrest. A result of the notorious reign of Louis XVI, this storage of remains withstood an 18th century of terror and revolution until its grand opening in 1809. In April 1777, the inspection unit for the quarries below Paris and surrounding plans was created. Originally built in the Middle Ages to perform as a limestone quarry, Paris's 200-mile underground became an answer to the city's acute issue with overcrowding. Highlighted by river, France's lack of leadership resulted in a struggle to find space for the dead, with the numbers of remains needing burial exceeding the room available. The most famous example of this was the Holy Innocents Cemetery. Serving 20 parishes, the graveyard is said to have held 10% of the city's deceased. It was following a damaging 1763 report into Paris's cemeteries that method changed. Claiming the burial system was infecting the city's air, in 1765 authorities ruled to only conduct burials on the outskirts of the city. However, never enforced, matters only worsened. Following a 1780 incident in which a mass grave collapsed a basement wall, this combined with continuous reports of an unbearable stench surrounding the Holy Innocents Cemetery caused the government to finally close the graveyard. Still faced with the issue of the increased deceased, it was General Lieutenant for Police de Corne that constructed the plan to replace the remains into the quarries. First transferred in April 1786, centuries of remains were repositioned from the Holy Innocents and other cemeteries to form the Paris Catacombs. Nevertheless, this collection of remains took a different form during the Revolution of 1789 to 1794. Challenging the thrilling aspects of the Paris Catacombs, Legacy highlights the symbolism of the location, arguing that the relationship between the Catacombs and the Revolution was thematic and direct. This clear link is most obvious for the Catacombs collection of revolutionary remains. Although never intended to be used as a graveyard for the recent deceased, throughout the revolutions, the Catacombs became a convenient storage place for victims, most famously including those killed during the September massacres of 1792. These victims were political prisoners believed to be a threat after the monarchy's overthrow in the preceding August. Constructed by the Minister of Interior, Héricard Ferdinand de Fiori, upon its public opening inside the Catacombs there stood a memorial for those lost in the September massacres. Although the remains themselves stayed concealed, this section particularly emphasised the emotional importance of the Catacombs in its initial years. This is highlighted through the responses of the first visitors to the Catacombs, with reports detailing daughters weeping over the ashes of her murdered parents, youth and beauty in the empire of corruption. Furthermore, with Davidson inferring that the revolution's aftermath destabilised the city's previous oppressing social structure, causing new social distinctions to emerge. Legacy champions the Catacombs' role in presenting this social freedom, arguing that the remains' anonymity became an unconventional method of portraying the revolution's destruction of social structures. This is highlighted for the Catacombs guestbook of July 1809 to August 1813. With guests commenting on the equality of the remains, in May 1812, one visitor commented on how the nobleman is nothing but a pile of dust, with others describing constant equality. Here you take back your rights. Whether representing a memorial to loved ones or symbolising the city's new freedom, it is obvious as the centuries have passed that the Catacombs' legacy has changed from a site of emotional importance to a fear-seeking tourist attraction. This can be seen through the rise of the cataphils. The Paris Catacombs, decrease of emotional respect. When referring to the Borough Charter, the Paris Catacombs can be defined as a heritage location with a high level of cultural significance. Established in 1979 at South Africa's Borough Town Hall, the Charter for the Conservation of Places of Cultural Significance gained the nickname the Borough Charter. Explored by Matt Kay, the Charter is described as a dynamic document which accommodates evolving notions of heritage in changing circumstances. Amended in 1999 and 2013, the 1999 publication recognises the cultural significance of heritage. Ingrained in the location itself, cultural significance is defined as historical, aesthetic, social or spiritual value for past, present and future generations, causing locations to have varied values for different individuals or groups. Appreciating this, the Catacombs' cultural significance is wide, split into two sections of a staged tourist attraction and legally restricted underground quarries. The Paris Catacombs have a layered history. A symbol of the French Revolution, Archer also suggests the quarries provided sanctuary in difficult times of political upheaval. Used for refuge during the 1789 storming of Bastille, Prussian siege in 1870 and the student riots of 1968, the most famous historical use of the quarries was during the German occupation of 1940 to 1944. Known as Bunker Allemand, occupying members of the National Socialist Party converted a quarry into an electrically equipped defence shelter. Providing direct access to the Senate, this is still distinguishable by painted entrance and exit point signs. An illegal underground that is peppered with encrypted evidence of decades of French history, the Catacombs' cultural significance is further seen through the existence of the cataphiles. Argued by Garrett as the odd breed of urban explorer, cataphils is the name given to those who illegally trespass into the quarries for the thrill of entering the catacombs. Serving as a weekend playground, these cataphiles use the catacombs for a range of different reasons. Including to display their skills as an artist, it is also common for the quarries to be used as a secluded party venue. This can be seen through the wide reporting of the discovery of a fully equipped cinema and restaurant in the Catacombs in 2004. Culture is significant by representing France's development from freedom, occupation and revolution. The cataphiles' use of this historic location as an entertainment venue directly represents how over time the public's emotional respect towards the Catacombs has diminished. An underground graveyard for 6 million of the city's own descendants. This clear decrease of emotional respect can be further seen through the difference in reviews of the Catacombs, with articles originally describing the location as causing thoughts of hope, as a result of the remains' portrayal without distinction of rich or poor, friend or enemy, bad or good, referring to the Catacombs' symbolism of equality after oppression and revolution. This appreciation of emotional importance is notably lacking in present reviews of the tourist attraction. Creepy, the title of a review which describes the Catacombs as a creepy place to go, stating that a spooky Halloween experience awaits. This, along with further reviews, which describes the location of 2 kilometres of subterranean creepy fascination, implies that the Catacombs no longer symbolises a freedom from oppression but an entertainment centre. The question is why? With Louisbrick arguing that the French Revolution memorials, such as the Bastille, are significant and emotional symbol of the freedom of the tradition of the Revolution of 1789, what is it about the Catacombs and its collection of human remains that has caused it to lose its emotional importance and become the modern thrill-seeking tourist attraction of today? The role of marketing in the Paris Catacombs. Over time, the importance of marketing in tourism has increased. Highlighted by Shafronov, a strong marketing strategy is seen as more important than ever in the increasingly competitive tourist industry. However, the marketing of dark tourism is one heavily debated among scholars. Suffering from an increased amount of moral criticism, with Seaton suggesting it is unacceptable to profit from the dead, Brown challenges these arguments. Creating a spectrum of light to night dark marketing, Brown infers that dark tourist locations must be promoted, priced and positioned just like all other products, regardless of their sensitive nature. Although both Seaton and Brown's implications of the issues surrounding the marketing of dark tourism are valid, it is apparent that it is not the fact that dark locations are marketed that is the problem, but the way in which they are promoted. This is explored by Wiles and Ballantyne, highlighting 5 factors that influence visitors' emotional engagement with heritage. These include time, distance, experience, abstraction, and the final element, marketing, implying that a certain type of presentation influences the interpretation. It can therefore be argued that the Paris Catacombs' dispassionate marketing style is the reason for the site's decreasing emotional respect. The first way this can be proven is through the site's online promotion. Conducting research into online advertisements for private tours of Auschwitz-Birkenau, Johnson's investigation concluded that online presentation focused on price, comfort and convenience, commonly offering other incentives such as parties and shopping experiences. With limited inclusion of the history of the Holocaust itself, this promotes a lack of emotional respect. The same can be suggested of the Paris Catacombs. With the location's own site containing information about the catacombs' layered history, this is however overshadowed by the sheer number of best-selling skip-the-line or restricted access tour tickets, which entice purchase by advertising an experience where you can rub the bones of spine-chilling remains that are brought back to life before your very eyes. This disrespectful online promotion causes an unemotional engagement with a historically loaded site. Additionally, studying the role of interpretation in dark tourism, Stone argues that memorial sites should interpret the events they commemorate authentically, in order to cause an emotional response by visitors, arguing that kitsification, cheapening of dark tourism through commercialization, denies visitors the chance to have a spiritual experience with the location. This can also be seen as a factor in the catacombs' decrease in emotional importance. Containing informatic audio and tour guides, this genuine historic insight that the site provides is outshone by numerous attempts of trivialization. The most famous example being when the Paris Catacombs partnered with Airbnb to give 2 people the chance to win a Halloween night in the catacombs, along with access to an exclusive dinner, breakfast and private concert. This type of widespread commercialization of real human remains diminishes their individual histories, creating a so-called acceptable lack of emotional response by thrill-seeking visitors. Another common way to cheapen the historic importance of dark tourism is through profit-making gift shops. Explored by Brown, it is stated that although retail has become a critical source of revenue for increasingly underfunded heritage sites, when engaging in retail at dark tourist locations, the product must be educational and serious, not seen as profiting from the death of those memorialized. Utilising retail through the availability of both an online and physical gift shop, the presence of education in the catacombs' retail outlets is notably absent. Selling comedic I Heart Paris hats in which the heart is a skull and plastic cranias, Brown implies that distracting commercial practices like these undermine dark tourist sites' memorializing identity, showing distinct lack of emotional respect which is replicated by the audience. With the Paris Catacombs' poor marketing strategies creating and causing an emotional disconnect to the site's layered history and physical remains, the increased importance of this type of disrespectful marketing is a factor of the passing of time. The passage of time from human remains to objects. Throughout this paper, the impact of the passage of time and the changes that it brings have been emphasised. Exploring the factors that influence emotional engagement levels with dark tourism, Wiles and Ballantyne highlight the role of time, arguing that the meaning of past experiences changes as moments separate us from those events. This suggestion is theorised by Miles. Adopting a space-time framework when approaching the dark to darker paradigm, Miles infers that a time gap separates darker sites from the remembered tragedy. This argument is pertinent to the Paris Catacombs. Originally seen as a collection of Parisian remains, the passage of time has resulted in these remains being portrayed as merely objects One way this can be seen is through the changing reaction to the human remains themselves. Exploring French policy regarding the preservation and display of remains, Cornu highlights how once the familiar link has been broken, a human body returns to an original status, suggesting that the journey from life and death truly occurs when the deceased ceases to be remembered. This is notable for the initial reaction to the catacombs, with the original guest book containing comments from visitors who were pleased to see all of their fellow citizens again. Legacy highlights how one woman was even disappointed to be unable to recognise her husband's remains within the collection. A more emotional response from citizens viewing these remains as their neighbours, this moving response has decreased as the descendants themselves have deceased. Explored by Brooks and Rumsey, it is argued that when portrayed, human bodies become non-bodies and are regarded as objects. This can be seen in the Paris Catacombs. With current reviews describing not for the faint-hearted views of millions of bones, it is apparent that over time, bones have gone from human bodies to thrill-seeking objects formed of human bones. Furthermore, a place of great anonymity, by containing neatly stacked, unnamed remains, the symbolism of this obscurity has also changed over time. Originally described as an artistic display of true equality that perfectly portrays Paris's newfound freedom in a post-revolutionary society, over 2 centuries since the revolution, this prolonged period of time has resulted in this anonymity taking a different meaning. With Page suggesting anonymity can act as a barrier between the remains and the people, it is implied when divorced from name, human remains are viewed as objects. Appreciating this, it can be argued that as time passed and those with emotional connection with the Paris Catacombs deceased, the role of remains anonymity changed to turn the remains into objects that can now be commercialised as part of an ultimate thrill-seeking entertainment venue. Another way time has played a role in the decrease of emotional importance of the Paris Catacombs is because of the development of technology in more recent years, most critically the rise of social media. Dark tourism and social media's relationship is laced with criticism and uncertainty, with many finding the posting of laughing and smiling photos disrespectful at places associated with suffering and death. Disapproval is most commonly a result of the posting of selfies at dark tourism sites. The famous example being when a student caused outrage by posting a smiling selfie at Auschwitz-Birkenau. The Paris Catacombs also engages in this debate. Although its own social media platform is sparse, upon searching the Paris Catacombs in Instagram, you are bombarded with continuous pictures of visitors posing, smiling, and sitting within the Parisian remains. Combined with a number of YouTube tour videos with very enticing titles such as Overnight in the Paris Catacombs, Night We Should Have Died, this type of modern mass media promotion is critical in causing the emotional decline of the catacombs, not only proving that the public see the catacombs as an anonymous thrill-seeking object, with Hoasker suggesting that the motivation for posting such images is because of a narcissistic need to sell their online selves, collecting likes, shares and retweets. This instant form of online promotion also spreads the remains objectification across the internet. A factor of the passing of time, this plays a critical role in the catacombs' current lack of emotional importance. Conclusion. This paper has filled a gap in the historiography of dark tourism by exploring sites with a changing level of darkness. Using the Paris Catacombs as a case study, it has investigated the site's development from a dark memorial to the lighter, thrill-seeking entertainment venue of today. A site of great cultural significance by originally symbolising France's newfound freedom post-revolution, the Catacombs also has a layered history, used for refuge during different periods of war, occupation and revolution. Investigating why this high level of emotional importance diminished over the centuries, the most critical cause of this emotional detachment is the passage of time. Prominent throughout this paper, time provides a space between the historic events, allowing the historical importance of the catacombs to die with those who lived through the revolution, turning the human remains into meaningless objects. This paper has also highlighted the factors of time that has caused this emotional disconnect, including the increasing importance of marketing and social media. Both of these elements have objectified the human remains through the use of tacky gift shop souvenirs and disrespectful selfies. This has been my paper on dark tourism and emotional respect, a study of the Paris Catacombs. Thank you so much for listening.